Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tailor Bag Sew Along. I'm so excited to do this project. I'm Amy from Amy Sews, Amy Bachman Sew and Quilt, and I've known Reen for years, and I have to say, this project is magical. And I've made so many myself. I just want to jump on board and share it with everybody. I've been selling sewing and embroidery machines for 34 years, and I've never seen this kind of commotion from my customers as something they are interested in learning how to make. And when they walk through the drive-in, see this sense, the snowballs. People come in and look at the snowballs. I'm like, that's great. And so we're excited about doing the tailor bag for everybody. Good morning, Robin. So I want to kind of make sure my phone doesn't go off while we're in here. Kind of do this in an organized way because the recording is going to stay on YouTube at Amy Sews and Amy Bachman Sew and Quilt. So if you need to review something, you can do that. Or if you get a glitch and you just aren't as keeping up the pace, right? So that's what we're going to do. So it'll stay on Facebook probably for 30 days. It's Facebook's kind of norm these days to hold a video, but always on YouTube, and it's not going to go anywhere on YouTube. Hello, everybody. And thank you, everybody who bought kits. You guys wiped us out of every zipper, every piece of foam, everything. So thank you. The late orders are going out today, unfortunately. But so I'm super excited about this. So let me get started with, hopefully you printed out your directions, right? Because that's the number one thing. I'm going to be kind of reading along with you. And the other reason I'm doing this is, and one thing I've learned after teaching all these years is some people are visual learners and some people are able to read and translate. So we're going to do a little bit of everything today. All right, so first thing, here I am organized, right? Now, one thing with Reen's designs, always be organized. These are starting with my letter A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way up to the letter O. And I'm just using little pieces of paper, my little tabs that I did from Reen's embroidery. She makes little alphabets that you can pin on things. When we move the studio, they're still somewhere else. That's where we're at. So we're making the 6x12 today. Reen didn't have the 8x12 one till after we started the whole advertising and everything. So everything is ready. Cotton fabric, my Bosal foam, everything is here, okay, including my 2 zippers with the zipper pulls on. And once we get started, while the machine's stitching, I'm going to talk about the different types of zippers and the different sizes of zippers. So that's where we're at. But I just want to, I get everything laid out. So I go step from A all the way forward. It really helps because all these pieces after a while look alike, especially if you're doing it all in one color, right? That's very possible. But let me show you some of the things that I've done. So this is the Halloween one, right? And I don't have any cam snaps on yet. That is so not my jam. I'm waiting for my son to come in to put them on because anyhow, different story. But this is the kit that I'm going to be doing today. It's not really a kit. It's just what I had because I had nothing left over of everything you guys bought, right? So how cute is this kind of fun just for the holidays? And it does have the single latch like the directions were written. This is the one Reen and I and Stephanie were on the Alaskan cruise, our Scan and Cut cruise, and she gave me this one while we were in Alaska. And this is very cute with the kind of like the denim and the paisley and then the brushed hardware. And then some of you got this kit, the paisley kit, sold out like instantaneously, right? So that's the other one. And then I kind of went rogue yesterday while I was kind of refreshing my memory. This, and if you are a staunch vegan, I'm sorry, but here we are. So this is Italian lambskin, right? And it is set already on foam. So I did not have to add extra foam because it was already built into my leather. Look how pretty that is. This is genuine leather. The only strip I have is right here, you know, of course, because the leather was too thick to fold and stitch, but this is very soft and it's very pretty. And then I just added these purse handles in the shop at Amy Sews. I'll put a link up. We have several different colors. And then on this one, I did the double tabs. So I can, but this is real leather and it's super soft. You just have to think, like once you make the project, you need to think through it as far as, does this bend? Does this double fold? Is this going to lay flat when I turn it? So, but the answer is, can you use cork or vinyl? The answer is yes, cork, definitely. There's different weights of cork, right? So this is like a cork veneer. So it's very thin with the fabric. This will work amazing. The heavier cork, I want you to fold it and see if it cracks, right? Because you still need to be able to turn it when you're done. And some vinyls will work. Again, it has to be, how thick is it? So two things together and then open them up and press them and see the results you get. That's the only way to kind of addition your fabrics. I have real cowhide out there. It was tan, but it's too much. I can't turn it and stitch it and whatever. So that's where we are. So it looks like we got people from all over the place. Oh, Reen's here. Hi, Reen. Oh my gosh. So now we have everything ready. We saw some samples. Everything's ready. We're organized, right? So everything's going to go nice and smooth. So I'm going to pop over to the machine, maybe. Here we go. And I'm sewing on a Brother Stellaire today. With that being said, this works in any machine with a 6x12 hoop. Just happens to be what I had in the studio. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prep our hoop. Now I'm doing the flap, right? There's my flap. So I have my two pieces of fabric, my main fabric, and my piece of foam cut to the directions. Now I'm using a 4x4 hoop for this because first of all, there's no sense wasting stabilizer and it fits. The closer the size hoop you have to your project, the better things are going to be. Okay, so that's just kind of my thing. I'm using regular sewing thread, top and bobbin, because we aren't doing hardcore embroidery. We're doing sewing basically, right? So that's where we're at. I don't want to make you guys dizzy, but here I am. It's on my screen, right? And if you have a brother or a baby lock, you're going to see the steps on the top. So we're going to follow the directions together step by step with page 3. So the first thing it's going to do is give me a placement line. And to hold the foam in place, I'm just going to use a little bit, just a little kind of dab of glue, nothing in the sewing area, just so it doesn't slip around, because this no-show mesh can be very, very slippery. I'm just going to put right on that orange line, okay? I did not put SF 101 on my flat fabrics. I felt they were secure enough and everything was fine, okay? Okay, the next piece goes right side up, and make sure that it is kind of centered over. You have plenty of room. You have plenty of fabric here, so don't panic, right? And the next piece is going to go right side down. So if you're doing something directional, make sure now's the time to make them directional. So the question is, am I using an embroidery needle? I am a huge fan of, let's find them, the dime embroidery needles. I'll find them here in a second. They are 85 13s, 80, yeah, they're the 85s, and they have a nice oblong eye to them, okay? So we're on page 5. or we're going to stitch, right? We're going to stitch step 2. On the top of my machine, it tells me what step we're on. And I'm just going to hold this because I want to keep, I don't want these pieces to buckle, right? So I want to keep them smooth. If you are using a Janome 500E, 550E, you really can't raise your presser foot up. But if your foot seems to be dragging in any other machines, make sure that you can lift your presser foot up internally, like adjust the height of your embroidery foot, right? Because as we get into this thickness, we're going to have to change that. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take it out of the hoop and we're going to trim. Okay, so that's page 5. Now that was simpler. Couldn't once you get over this hump, this is the hard part. And I'm just joking. So I'm going to pop it out of the hoop. See if I can do. Okay, so now that it's out of the hoop, I'm going to put my hoop away. So I'm done with that. Now we're going to trim. Okay. So when you trim, you still want to give yourself, don't trim anything across the top for a minute, right? Let's start with the others first. So let's turn this upside down and let's get rid of all this stabilizer so I can see what I'm doing. I'm just rough cutting here. All right, Shauna said she just ordered an adjustable free motion foot for the Janome 550E. That's very good news. Okay, so now we're going to trim. I just want to be able to see where I'm going. So I'm going to do this about 1/8 of an inch. Don't get too crazy because, and you want to, because we're going to snip into this seam. If you have pinking shears, now's the time. The more even this is trimmed distance-wise, the more even your flap is going to turn. That's kind of hard for me to cut, this like leaning over this far. But you want about the same amount of distance. And in these curves, I'm just going to use the back of my scissors. And I'm just going to gently kind of snip into that foam, or you could use the tips if you feel better. And what that does is when this turns, it helps that fabric kind of spray open. So you can turn it easily. And you're going to want to get some bulk out of here, right? And now we're going to turn this. And I will trim this down once I'm turned because it makes me feel better. Oh my gosh, I think I skipped a step. I didn't do the top stitching. You guys, the first project I screwed up. Well, Amy. Yeah, I shouldn't have turned it. Taken out the hoop, I was ahead of myself. So, boy, I'm so glad you guys tuned in. But step number 3. Step number 2 should have been the top stitching. And then number 3, I got ahead of myself. See that? If I were you guys, I'd hang up right now. So anyhow, but let me, two seconds though, because I plan to not and it only takes a second and I will be up and running and we're going to do it again. My apologies. That's what I get for like trying to read comments and trying to read everything. Maybe I'll just do the sew along and ignore my comment. That'll be best. You want to make sure the stabilizer is tight and no buckles. Okay. Who knew I would blow it on the first thing? The first thing. All right, here we go. We're doing it again. My apologies. We're going to. So that placement line. A little dab of glue stick on there so it holds. Gee whizzikers. Amy. My apologies. Okay, so we're going to do right side up. Now we're going to stitch number 2. Okay, we're on a roll. We're good now. So this is the top stitching. You're going to see this on the right side of your flap. All right, now we're going to do layer number 2. And what you don't want, I'm going to show you right now, is that little buckle. That's why I hold my hand on there. So as I do things, I'm going to explain to you why when things go bad, why they go bad. That's why I keep a little bit of pressure on there just to kind of keep it flat. Okay. So now I have the press pads in every size. If you guys don't own these, they are such a game changer when it comes to working with projects in your hoop. Now we're going to trim one more time. Woo! I'm just going to de-chunk this so I can see where I'm going. So you'll see 2 lines of stitching. Okay. This is your top stitching, and then this is your sewing line. So you want to trim as even as you can, 1/8 of an inch. I wouldn't get too close. Like if you get super close, what happens is when you turn it and put any pressure on it, it's going to pop. All right, let's get this bulk out of here. We don't need this. And I'm going to trim these tabs in a minute. And that turns so nice. And it's so important that you press as you go. Right? Nice and flat everywhere. Don't be afraid to put some heat on it. There we go. Now I'm going to set this aside because we won't need this until we are later and use it to insert. And then I'll show you how I'm going to trim this down. This just makes me feel safe from sorry. I was just reading some of the emails and things you guys have been sending me about your glitches that you've been having. So we're going to try to fix that. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. My little hoop aside. Keep my flap on the table with everything. All right, now we are ready to start the big project in the hoop. So I have my 6x12 hoop here with no-show mesh, and it is very firm. Okay, we talk about these pressing pads a lot because we're going to be doing a lot of face down, face up, face down, face up. Especially when I see people like doing appliques, when you physically hold your hoop like this and you apply pressure, the stabilizer starts to bow. And what happens, then nothing lines up. So we're going to make sure this is incredibly tight. And we're going to slide it on. And I'm going to go back and get my design. I have some tape ready because we're going to be doing lots of tape. Okay, we'll get everybody a second to get their flap put together. I'll clean up my pins. So the first thing we're going to be putting in is our zipper. So this is my zipper. Now, this is a 3.5, and here's where I don't want to confuse the bejeebies out of everybody. There's two downloads, one for a 3 zipper and one for a 5 zipper. And I want to show you what the difference looks like. So on this particular one, that black's hard to see. Let's see on here. So Reen used a number 5 here, and I used a 3.5. You can see more tape. Like you can see more zipper tape on mine than you can on hers. Okay. But make sure you're using the right zipper for the right file. You guys absolutely wiped me out of zippers. So this is what I have to use. Okay. So Daryl, the instructions are with the download. And when you got the design, the directions were there as well. And this is the tailor bag from Embroidery Garden. This is the 6x12. And you can get it directly from Embroidery Garden. All right, so my hoop is on with my stabilizer. The first thing it's going to sew is a placement line for my zippers. Sheila, if you have a 6x12, that's fine. It doesn't matter as long as it fits in that hoop. It's the closest hoop you have to the size of the design. That's all that matters. So when I take off I'm just going to slide it off. I take my zipper and I want the pull at the top. Now you can see I'm pretty close to the edge here. I'm living dangerous, but that's okay. I know how to put them on. And this is a pretty generous cut for the zipper. I'm just going to put a piece of tape right across the bottom. And you want to be very careful. And you want to be very careful and make sure you are between those stitching lines, right? And that zipper pull is at the top and out of the way. Okay, so now it's going to stitch the zipper on both sides. And again, I use my hands probably more than I should, but I want to make sure I am right along that stitching line. Ooh, I just missed the zipper pull. There we go. And I love the way that Reen jumps over here instead of sews through that. That makes it easier to keep the placement of the zipper pull out of line. All right. Now we're going upside down. I'm going to take off my hoop and I'm going to put it right over my press pad. So now that press pad's filling the void, so I don't have to worry about what's happening. All right, letter A, here we go. Face down, pretty side down. And we're going to center it just where our stitching line is. And we're covering the entire zipper. You can't even see the zipper. Okay. And again, we're back to the tape. We're going to tape some in place. I have a product I want to do to eliminate the dang tape, but it's going to take some work. Maybe Rena and I can share what the heck. All right, so we're just going to tape this in place. And we're going to flip it over. And now we're going to grab piece B, which is our pretty outside fabric, right? And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to match it up and cover our zipper. Let me get that tape, that pull out of the way. Okay, so you can see, now you see the zipper, and now you don't. And line everything up nice and easy. Again, more tape than I wish to use, but I usually say tape is for sissies. But when you're flipping things back and forth like this, it really has to stay in to place. Okay, so our next stitch is we're on number 3, and it is going to stitch everything in place, okay? So make sure our lining is flat when we put it in. This is where everybody gets messed up, where they have it all kind of rumpled up underneath here. That's the last thing we want to do. I think someone asked about the orientation. This is the center of our hoop. We're working on the right-hand side of our hoop. So your orientation from what you're seeing and what I'm seeing should be correct. Where the hoop attaches, there's nothing over here, okay? All right, so now we have done that little stitch. And the next one is a placement line for our next zipper. Thank you, Reen, for like monitoring. I'm here by myself today, which is unusual. When we go to put the straps on, I'll show you where the option is to add the straps, okay? So if you're doing the crossbody, you can add those on there. All right, so zipper pull to the right, right? And it's okay, I leave it hang over. The more generous you are with your zippers, the better. And again, perfectly between those lines. Now it's not the time to cheat. Okay, so once we get in that, then it's going to stitch this zipper in place. And this is where the genius happens, right? I've never seen a project with 2 zippers in one spot. All right, so I'm going to take it off. Now I can pull this tape away. We can reuse that tape. All right, so let's go. We're going to flip it over. Okay, so this is the back side here. Okay, we're going to take letter C, which is a lining piece. We're going to go wrong sides down, covering our zipper tape. You can see these guys are side by side and side by side. We got a 45-degree angle here. We're not seeing our zipper. We're not seeing anything. And back to the tape. Okay, so that's only one step, and we're going to do one more step before we turn. Okay. Everybody good? Rena, I don't know. I'll fill you in a minute. All right, so while this is done, I'm going to flip it over. Okay, so we went and we put C on the back. We're flipping it over. We're going to get letter D, which is our pretty fabric. Okay. We're going to do the same thing. Right sides down, covering the zipper tape. We've got that lined up here at that 45-degree angle. So it's kind of like sewing. We're doing right sides together. Okay. Now we're going to sew number 6. This is step number 6. So I always, when I am doing this and I'm reading someone's directions, I always look. Number 6 and number 6 is on my directions. So I'm always the same pace. And that works if your machine automatically color sorts. Sometimes. All right, Pamela has a question. Let's make sure that I'm not lying to you, right? So she said right sides down, right sides down, and right sides down. Okay, again, making sure my lining is out of the way. So I'm on page 10 of the directions, okay? This is what we're looking at now, right here. And these are right sides down. Okay, so I'm going to stitch number 6. Which is going to hold those 2 lining pieces together. Someone said they'd like to be inside of Reem's brain. I bet you it is very dangerous in there because very few of us can, what do you want to say, spatially put things together and flip and turn in our heads to make it work. All right, so now we're ready for our piece of foam. Okay, this is letter E. I'm not taking anything out, okay? Again, I'm going to take a little bit of glue, and I just put a little dab right there just so it doesn't shift, okay? Yes, is it going to sew through it? It's going to sew through it. It's just regular glue. It's not going to hurt anything. It just helps me. So I'm going to go all the way to that stitching line. I don't want anything folded or creased. If you have a piece of tape, let's get that tape out of there. Okay, I'm going to go all the way to that stitching line, not over it, not under it. We're going to go to it. Okay, so as your foam in place, you ready? Okay, this is where magic starts to happen here. We're going to take this top flap and we're going to slide it down. Now my foam may be a little generous here, but we want to make sure this is, so if you hold your flap up and then you rest your foam in here, you want to get it so it's nice and snug, okay? I'm just going to give a little piece of tape right there just to kind of hold it. Now I'm going to use my fingers while we do it. Now, when we're at this spot, right? So I'm on page 11 of the directions. We just folded down our flap. And the stippling is next, right? So the stippling along the pocket line is what's going to sew next. If you're advanced, and when you do your next one, this is where you're going to put a different design. A 4x6 design is the max you can get. But what you need to understand is exactly where this goes, because we're going to have a wrap over here. So if you're doing a monogram, a letter, a different design, make sure you understand where center is. Okay. All right. So with that being said, we are going to drop this down and we're going to do the stipple. And again, I want to make sure it's smooth. Okay, you guys asked about the Halloween fabric. It's from QT Fabrics, Quilting Treasures Fabric. It's called Creeping It Real. See if I can put that on there. That's it. We have so much Halloween in stock. We have so much Christmas in stock. It's crazy. We did pull the kits on the website because I'm out of zippers and I order like 500 yards at a time. So I have them made for me. So it takes a while for them to get here. So we may offer some other kits in the future. I'm going to do a Christmas winter one, I think, next. The fabric is $13.99 a yard. It's not in the Shopify store at Amy Sews, but if you send me an email, we could probably cut it. There's probably about 7 or 8 yards left. It's been very popular. Right, the magic. We got the stippling done. Yes, this is going to stay up on YouTube. Okay, so now we have a portion of the front done. And I'm going to flip it over and put it on the press pad. I'm going to get rid of any extra tape that I don't need. Time to clean it up a little bit. Okay, so this is the part we really have to pay attention to. Okay, this guy right here, this top piece, right? This is piece C. And I will tell you, sometimes when I'm really, if I don't want to be really confused, I take a Fix-On marker and I will just mark the backs of them, because the minute it hits a little heat, it's going to disappear. Okay, so sometimes, oh, Vicki, I'm sorry. All right, so I'm going to wait just a second for some people to kind of get caught up here. I know we all work at a different pace. That's what's kind of hard. I don't want to, but the fact that it's going to be on YouTube and you can keep watching it, it's fine. Am I using special tape? No, I'm using 3M medical tape. You can use washi tape. I don't like painter's tape because it curls up and gets stuck to your machine. The paper tape works really well too. Everybody has their favorite, right? There's no right or wrong here, just what happens to be laying around. I don't like Scotch tape because it doesn't stick. Like the package tape doesn't stick. All right, so we're ready. This is where the magic starts to happen, okay? I'm going to take piece C, which is the top, and I'm going to fold it down. Okay, and I'm going to give it a little press. Okay, this is so important. We're going to fold this down and we're going to press it, okay? We're still working upside down. We are going to be cutting a slit down the edge. Nope, I just lied to you. We're going to fold it down and press before we do that. Sorry, hold on. Again, I could quit reading the dang comments, Amy. Okay, so we're going to fold this down and I'm going to put a little piece of tape here. And then we're going to flip it over. I got ahead of myself. I got all excited. We're going to take your lining piece G, and it's going to go face down, and we're covering the zipper. Just like that. And I'm going to give a little piece of tape just to hold on to it. Okay, so now we're going to stitch number 8. And number 8 is going to stitch across either side of the zipper to hold those two lining pieces in place. But I want to make sure that you guys actually folded down the back, right? This is the back of the hoop, right? So that is folded down so you can see the right side. My tail out of the way. Let's make sure this is lined up nicely. Okay, so we're ready to stitch step 8. Now it's going to look like it's wrong because it's going to stitch the top of the zipper and then it's going to hop up one. Trust me, it's right. And I'm going to stop my machine here and get this tape out of the way. Whoops, switch the camera, sorry. All right, so it's stitched across the top of the zipper and it hopped up and stitched above. That gives you room for this piece of foam, which is letter H. And again, just a little swipe of my glue stick. And this goes right next to my stitching. Right between those two lines of stitching. Okay, just like we placed the zipper. Let's go ahead and flip it up. And I kind of just smooth it out with my hand. Now, I am going to take this off just for a second, and I'm going to press this. And don't press your zipper tape or your hoop or everything else you got going on. I just want a nice crease. This is the difference between clean projects, right? Projects that had enough of you back lining. I'm just going to pin, here we go. Projects that look crisp and clean and others that look clunky. And I don't mean clunky in the bad way. I'm just saying that you want the more time and precision you take now, the better off it's going to be. So this is Bosal foam that I'm using. I think Irene uses a different brand. And so this is probably 1/8 of an inch thick. You don't want something super thick, right? It would be, you'll be very sorry if you do. All right, so we're ready to stitch 9. We folded this piece up, right? This is going to stitch this piece into place. Again, I'm just putting a little back pressure back here because I don't want this to buckle. All right. Let's take it out of the hoop. No, don't take it out of the hoop. Take the hoop off the machine. I almost said it. Don't want to do that. Okay, so now we are going to take this top piece right here and fold it down, just like that. You are going to see a little bit of your foam creeping through. If you do, fine. If you don't, fine. We just want to see that stitching line right there. And remember earlier, I jumped the gun about the magic. This is where the magic's going to happen. Now, you can use scissors. You can use scissors. You can use a little rotary cutter and a little mat. I like to use my seam ripper, but that's me. It doesn't matter how you get this done as long as you do it. Now, you see a little red ball on my zipper, on my seam ripper, a little red ball. When I plunge this right above that stitching line, take a few stitches, I roll my seam ripper so that little ball is at the bottom. If I had fabric behind here, I would make sure that I wasn't going to cut it. Now, before I cut any more, this piece is going to get tucked through that slit. Okay, so I'm gonna do this twice so you guys can see. This is important. When I pull this through, if I have any kind of pleats that I can't smooth out, my slit is not cut enough. Or your top fabric piece is too wide. But what you do not want any buckles or anything. So let me do that one more time so you can see. And be careful that you are not overworking that stabilizer. You want to be gentle with it because once this is compromised, this piece becomes loose and we don't want to do that. I just see a comment about pre-shrinking stabilizer. I will at some point, if I'm doing something that's going to get laundered, something that's going to get steamed after I'm done. I'm not a steam user in embroidery. I will hold my steam iron about 1 inch above this stabilizer and you will watch it shrink. Not every stabilizer, but if you get an inexpensive stabilizer, it will do that. All right, we're picking it up. We're pulling it to the back, just like that. Okay, we want this to be smooth. We don't want any pieces in here. Okay. Again, I'm going to press because I want that crease to be nice and crisp. Perfect. Okay, so this is what it looks like in the back right now. Okay, this is what you should look like at the back. And again, you can see I have that little crease right here. I'm not super worried because it's past my stitching line, which means it's not going to get caught in there. If I really wanted to, this is kind of dangerous, but I'm going to just a little snip to relax it. Okay. And this is what your front looks like at the moment. So we're going to fold this back up just like that. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a second to get caught up. Okay, so I'm back in the back side of my hoop right now. This is the piece we just pulled through the slit of the stabilizer. Okay. All right, just going to give you a second because we want to make sure that's perfectly done. All right, how are we coming out there? We're doing good? All right, I'm just double checking myself here. I may have worked myself into a dilemma. I've only made like 14 of them, and that's what I get for doing it live. I'm seeing when I lift this guys up, I'm seeing too much. This piece this piece probably should look like this right here. So I apologize for that. So let me go ahead and we're going to take and clean up where the zipper teeth. We're going to remove the fabric behind the zipper teeth, the stabilizer behind the zipper teeth. Oops, sorry. Thank you. I may be owing you guys a new class. So what we're doing is we're just exposing the zipper teeth. Because we want our zipper to flow, be able to zip and unzip and actually get through there. Okay, so once your zipper is closed or exposed, you're going to fold your flap right back down again. Okay, we're still working from the back of the hoop. Okay, here we go. This is letter I. We're on page 17. We're going to go right side down and we're going to push it through, back through that slit. Pressure of doing it live. We're on page 17. Okay, so we have a fold going on here, right? Now we're going to take letter I and we're going to slide it right through that slit that we created. And again, you want to make sure there's no folds or wrinkles or anything going on. Okay. We're going to flip it over just so you can see. So this is creating this pocket. This is kind of sloppy. I'll freshen this up. But you want this piece to open up and be level or even with the top piece of your fabric. Okay. And then you want to make sure this piece is nice and flush because this is where the neatness needs to come in right here. Okay. Yes, you have to I didn't move any zipper teeth at the moment. Okay, so we're not ready. We're going to do that in the next step. So I'm on page 17. Okay, I'll flip this back over. I took piece I, right? I have my fold here for my pocket. I took piece I and I slid it inside there. Okay, I'm going to put a piece of tape across so it doesn't move when I flip it over, so I can. And this is the front side of the hoop. You can see it's coming through just so it's kind of even with the top. This piece right here, it's important that this is nice and flush and neat. And this piece is nice and flush and neat. Okay, once you get this organized, okay, then you're going to move your zipper teeth to the middle, or your zipper pull to the middle. And I kind of flop it down and I'll put a little piece of tape there just so it doesn't go anywhere. Right now, it's better safe than sorry. When we're at this point, it is better safe than sorry. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim my zipper teeth. Just get that extra stuff out of there. Okay, now it looks kind of funny because we are doing a lot of manipulation, right? So what you're looking at is the front of my hoop right now. Okay, we've trimmed our zipper teeth away. This piece is still face down, covering our zipper, and that's correct. This is where those press pads, and make sure you get any extra tape out of the way at this point because it will melt. Well, at least this tape will melt. I don't know if you had a cotton tape, it may not melt. Okay. I'm going to fold this piece this direction. This is where some of the really cool effects come from. This is a beautiful finishing technique. I've seen so many in the hoop projects where the finishes, it's clever, but the finishes just aren't right. And this is going to be just right. So I'm going to press this. So it's nice and firm. Okay. Everybody good? We're not good, but that's okay. I'm going to turn this sideways so you can get that out of the way so you can maybe see the whole thing. So this is where a little bit of accuracy helps, right? We're going to have a two-fold process. We're going to fold this to the stitching line and we're going to fold this over. So basically you're encapsulating all the raw edges. So I'm going to fold it once and give it kind of a quick press. And I'm going to fold it again. Okay. And once you get it folded the way you like it, we're going to press it. Before we stitch it, we're going to double check where our needle and foot are in relationship into the hoop. Okay. So that was a double fold. Okay, that is page 18 is where we're at. And my thing is here is press, press, press. The other thing you want to look at is that even with my zipper tape, right? So, you know, my hoop hit that pole in the back, so that wasn't so pleasant. So you have just a tiny, tiny bit of fudge room, but visually you want to look down the edge of your zipper. And this is a difference between using a 5 and a 3. Can you interchange them? You can, but you just have to be extra careful, okay? So that's where we're at. So once I get this nice and pressed, okay, so now we're going to stitch number 10. We're finishing up page 19 in the directions. We're going to stitch number 10. And again, you have all this going on back here. Let's make sure all of this isn't moving, okay? So, tape your front piece, your bottom piece, your back pieces. Make sure everything is the way it should be. Because now's not the time to crease that lining, and we have all done it. Where you're like, oh, dang, now I got to undo it because it all folded, so pay attention. So when you take a look here, I'm trying to zoom in without making you dizzy. Pay attention here to where your needle is going to drop on the fold. Okay, if you have a little laser light, now's the time to turn it on. Okay, and you can slow your machine down here if you want. If you have a Luminaire or Solaris, if you hold the green button, it'll just tie a knot and it'll just putz its way down. But I'm just going to keep my hand right on start stop button. Let me switch hands. And I'm going to make sure this is just on the edge of my fold. Did you hear that? My hoop keeps hitting the pole. Anyhow, it's not good. All right, so that's what we have. This is stitched, now beautifully stitched down. Okay. That was page 19 that we just finished. And stitch number 10 is what we just finished. Okay, so now we're going to the back over my press pad. Okay. So this is forming a pocket right here. Let me unpin my lining. Oops, switched. Thank you. Okay, so I'm on the back on a press pad. Okay, so this side makes a pocket, right? We want to make sure we're nice and smooth here. This folds over, and you're going to see your zipper tape right here, depending on the color of your zipper tape. And I'm going to put a little piece of tape here just to kind of hold it in place. Time for some fresh tape. Okay, now we're going to do letter J. So letter J is our lining fabric, and it is going to go right side down, and it's going to cover the other side of the zipper tape. And you're going to want to tape it in place. We've come too far to goof now. Because now we're going to flip it over. Okay, so we folded our lining over, exposed our zipper tape. We put our lining fabric J across, covering the zipper tape. You shouldn't see any zipper tape right now. We're going to flip our hoop over. Okay. And we're going to get our pretty fabric, letter K. I feel like Sesame Street. Sesame Street, doing my ABCs. And we're going to cover the front of that zipper. Our zipper pull is still at the top, so we're not worried about that yet. Okay. We're going to put it back on the machine, and we're going to be doing step 11, color 11. Again, I'm double checking to make sure nothing is folded, buckled. Now's not the time to have an uh-oh, as we know. Okay, let's get going. We're halfway through the alphabet. This is the genius of how this works, right? So the way all these pieces come together. We're going to take letter L, our foam strip. I'm going to give it just a dab of glue stick like I do. And it's going to go right next to that stitching line. Now it's going to hang over your hoop, so don't worry because it's going to get captured in there. So don't panic, all right? Right on your stitching line. And then we're going to take our pretty fabric and fold right over it. So you can put it right in there and fold right over it and tape it in place. Again, taking a look visually here to see how close I am to my teeth. Now, again, this is a 3.5 zipper. You guys told me out a zipper, so you're seeing a little more teeth than if you had a number 5. And hopefully you downloaded the right pattern for a 3 zipper or a 5 zipper, okay? So once this guy is in there, this is stitch number 12. We're on page 22 of the directions. Okay, so now we're going to stitch this in place. Before I do that, I just want to make sure nothing in my back has crinkled or turned. I've got a wayward piece of tape that's causing problems. Here we go. And at this point, I want to double check to make sure that is, yeah, number 12. Oops. And again, I'm making sure and paying attention that this is folded over nice and crisp, right? And I'm kind of have an even line along my zipper tape. You don't want your foam slipping out of place at this point, so I'm just kind of holding it right where it belongs. right, I'm going to take it, use my press pad. I'm going to turn it upside down. I'm going to press it this way first, but I'm going to get this tape out of here because I do not want melty tape all over the lining. And again, your tape may not melt. This is the tape I just happen to have. So I'm going to press that seam from behind. And I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to press it. I imagine you could use the fusible foam, and that would probably help hold everything in place. All right, I'm on page direction 23. And we're going to open up the lining, expose our zipper, and we're going to press. And we're going to do the same procedure. We're going to remove the stabilizer from the back of our zipper teeth. So Celia asks, the question is, the foam give you more definition than batting? I like the way the foam feels. It really bounces back. And when you put weight in here, like I have an iPhone 14 Max, it weighs about 22 pounds. If I just had batting, there's a good chance it would buckle on me. So I do like the foam. Batting is fine, right? So don't not use batting. Same thing. I made a little slit. I turned my seam ripper upside down so that little ball won't cut through anything. I have to tell you, it's a lot easier when I'm doing this all by myself. I'm pretty good when I'm all by myself. I don't want to screw up for you guys. Okay, let's get it started. And again, if you're happy with scissors, then by all means, you can use scissors. Just a little bit of tension helps it cut nice and clean. You can snip this out of the way. Snip this out of the way. So now you have an exposed zipper teeth. We're on page 23 of the directions. Thank you, Karen. I'm live all the time with my subscription owners, right? But it's my project, and now I'm doing Reed's project. Last thing I want to do is mess up. So at Amy Sews, we do a scan and cut subscription box, a serger subscription box, a Tito applique embroidery of the month. There's a lot going on there at Amy Sews. So once this is done, okay, I'm going to flip it back over. And we're going to unzip the zipper. All the way, not all the way, halfway, just like that, okay? You can see it's right here, it's right there in the middle. So now we're at embroidery step 13, color 13, and it's going to give us the placement for our tab and our flap, okay? So we're going to go back into the machine, and we're going to make sure that our lining pieces are not, I want to keep that open just like that. Oops, see, I want you to keep this open in the back, okay? So make sure you get this taped out of the way. And then we're going to put it back in the machine. one thing I hope they add to the new brother, I have it on my Janome M17, is I can pull the hoop forward by pushing a button so I can trim and fuss instead of taking the hoop on and off. Hoping the Avenir, they're going to make my wishes come true with that. All right, so I'm stitching. They always ask our opinion of dealers, you know, what would you like? And it doesn't always happen. So we're stitching color 13. This is placement lines. Now, the other thing I want you to be cautious of. See how my zipper is split right here? I want to make sure that my zipper teeth stay together. So what I do here at the end is I put my tape on one side and I kind of tug it and I pull it together. I want to make sure there's no buckles when I zip and unzip. But when it stitches up here, I don't want a gap in my zipper teeth. That's just a little extra bonus thing. Okay, is my lining out the way? Let's make sure that lining's out the way. I'm just going to kind of give it a little pinch with my fingers because this tab does stitch over those zipper teeth. And what that does, that helps lock this on too. And if we've all done a project where that hoop piece is pulled right off. So now I'm going to make sure this is smooth because it's going to give me that placement line for my tab. So remember when I first did my tab, we did it twice actually. I did not trim this extra piece away. I'm kind of paranoid that way. So when you can see, I have the top of my stitching line here and the top of my top stitching here. That's what I'm putting in that box, right? So when it stitches in there, and you want to make sure that you have room for your snap or your pretty decoration. Now, if you want to make your tab a little longer, now realizing it's flat up here, there's no foam. If you're a tucker inner like this, right? Just make sure you have it lined up within that archway. And I just kind of tuck it in there just to kind of help hold it in place. Hang on. Oh, there it is. So let's talk about, before we stitch anymore. Okay, we're on page 25, just in case anybody needs to know, right? So here I have a piece of cork and I have my little tab. This is where you put your own personality into it, okay? Again, this one has cork, and I'm going to show you guys how to make a tassel. We have a little gizmo, a jig that we made to do the tassel. You can do cork. You can do, on this double, I did a fabric, okay? I did folded fabric because I didn't have any really creamy cork that would work with that. You can do fabric. You can do cork. You can do a little piece of leather. You just don't want it so bulky that you can't, you know, that it's going to restrict how it turns, right? You don't want it to be too much. So again, if your hardware is a little different than Reen's directions, you know, you might find something that's a little narrower. That's why we have scissors, okay? And this, you don't have to add this. You can add a wristlet loop here. You could, you know, add whatever you want here. So you're going to put your, and again, I like mine just a little bit longer. This is a very personal thing. Okay. So when we add this tab right over the zipper teeth, it's going to stitch it down. If you want 2 tabs, and I kind of hesitate to say this, I think Reen did do a little video on this somewhere out there on adding the 2 tabs. Okay. And I'm going to use this just as a placement guideline. I'm going to take my strap off. The straps are $9. I think there's 8 or 9 colors in Amy Sews. So when I lay this on here and I'm lining my zipper to my zipper, right? I can see where these are going to go, but these don't go until we put M, N, and O. Not till fabric O do these go on. And they're going to go right above here and make these a little bit longer so this guy can dangle out of the way. But you're going to want to use, you know, you're making your test one now, right? So just kind of line that zipper up and see where those pieces go. I'm sure Rena's a fancy measurement somewhere, but this is Amy math, right? This is Amy math. And that's if you want to do doubles. And again, you can, and I'm not ashamed to say, I have in my lifetime taking my hoop off the machine, going to my sewing machine, stitch these down with everything in the hoop, and then putting the hoop back on the machine. Okay, understood. If I goof and I don't like this top stitching and I got to tear it out, I'll pick it out. I'll take it to my sewing machine while it's still in the hoop. The feed dogs work, everything. I just put it underneath there and I will fix it. Okay, as long as you don't take it out of your hoop, you can do. You can take it to a different machine and stitch these in place to make sure they're in there. And once they're in there, you're going to want, before you turn this, to go and reinforce this because it's just a one stitch around for in Ring's directions. And of course, the directions weren't made for doing two, but you guys are smart cookies, right? So let me get up here. Place this right here. I'm going to put my tape on first. And I'm going to slide it up in here. Now your little dangler do flicker is going to be hanging here, down towards your zipper. Okay. If it's not in there, I can see mine doesn't match up in the back. I would be stitching by hand, which is never good. We don't want hand stitching anything. And there we go. So this is plenty long enough that this is out of the way. Like I said, if you want to just add the D-ring, you can add a D-ring. This is a D-ring with a clasp. Your hardware is personal, okay? And same thing with the cam snaps. Now, I was hoping my son would get an early today. So Monday's a work day at the store. We're closed. But because this is the hardware that I have. Now, I have some beautiful fancy hardware here at the store. And so I'm up in my game a little bit here, but I need him to do the Chicago screws. Look at that. Actually, it goes this way. How beautiful is that? So you can be as fancy as you want to, but this is a little more mechanical. These are from actually purse manufacturers that I work with to do something a little bit fancier. That would be a class all by itself trying to do that. So we've got our placement done, right? We're good. So we just finished up with page 25. We're on page 26. We need our foam and again, I use some of that wash away Fix-On marker, okay? Make sure those zipper pulls are to the middle. See, I moved that when I was horsing around. Okay, in the middle, out of the way. I say this to myself. And this is where the road, I'm going to make sure I'm past all of my stitching marks. This is pretty generous, but we want to stay generous. We don't want to not do this, right? Oh, I did it wrong. Sorry. Back up. Pause. We're going to put our lining down, their back on first. Right sides together. Our fabric. Okay, you see what I did? I pulled my foam away. Sorry, we're going to do fabric to fabric, right sides together. This is letter M. Our lining pieces, our outside pretty piece is letter M. And we're going to put N on top of it, which is our foam piece. This is where some machines have a tendency to, and I don't want to use the word choke, but see what I'm going to do? I can't take this. I'm going to just do my corners just like this, little glue in the corners, because I don't want this guy to shift on me, and it's easier to put one piece of fabric underneath than try to juggle two. And I'm going to put a couple pins, which are not my favorite thing to use for machine embroidery or serging or scan and cutting. So I'm doing it backwards this way. And I want to see those pins. I don't want them to be, I want to make sure it's nice and flat now that I pinned it. These guys are going in. Okay, double check, triple check, make sure everything is out of the way. Our lining isn't folded anywhere. So now we're ready to stitch number 15. Oh, 14. 14, I'll tell you what, 14, let me pull this off. Stitch number 14 is just a double stitch to hold your tab in place. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. Green got a nice little zigzag there to hold that in place. And then we're going to do another one that is going to hold our flap in place. Yeah, that would have been awful if that shifted. And that's really kind of right above that foam. All right, now I feel better. That was step 14. So it just tacked everything down at the top. I can figure out why everybody was moving when I was putting this on here. So we are putting, this is M, letter M, pretty side down, and foam N on top. And it's nice that your embroidery foot is towards you. So now I can double check front, back, sideways, right? And I'm going to pull this pin because it kind of looked like it was in the road on its way. All right, we are holding up okay out there. I did tape it and then it stitched it down. Oh, someone's about folding. When I look at, and maybe Reen can chime in if she's didn't fall asleep on me. That tab, that where it looks like it's folded down, I think that's her showing to trim the bulk out of there. I did not trim any of mine down. You probably could fold it, but mine were fine. I didn't, and maybe I misinterpreted that, but I didn't fold anything down because those raw edges were caught inside, and maybe it looks prettier on the inside. I'm sure Reen can chime in. Nope, we don't even see it on the inside. I think we're okay. All right, so now this is where we got to pay attention. If you want to, it's just going to sew, we're on stitch color number 16, right? So it's just going to run a straight stitch right up the back to kind of hold everything in place. So I'm just cross-checking to make sure everything is covered. And she does a nice double stitch here, a nice bean stitch. So I feel like everything is secure. You can stop your machine at any time to make sure everything up here is clean and looks right. Like there's no buckles or folds or anything. All right, so we're on page 26 our directions. We're going to slide it out. I'm going to pull my pins out. And we're going to turn it upside down on our press pad. And again, if you want to give it just a little press, just to make sure so far everything is behaving, everything looks good. It looks beautiful. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that stays, whoops, make sure that stays closed, right? Oh, I can see we have a problem. And it's better that I do it than hopefully you didn't do it. But letter F, we had two. I think I screwed up somewhere. We're going to find out here in a minute. All right, so this is O, face down, right sides together. Yep, I think I should have doubled up on that one lining. Woo, boy. Too much chatting, Amy. We're going to tape this in place. That's the other thing I should have been paying attention to. Do I have pieces left over? That's why I didn't have those two pieces on the back to pick up. It's my fault. Well, I'm glad you're just joining because you're going to want to watch the part where I'm missing letter F. So we're going to fix that somehow. Okay, so we have O on here. That's page 26 of your directions. And now we're going to be on stitch number 17. Okay. We're going to stitch now all the way around. And again, make sure everything is nice and flush back here. Make sure it goes in flush. Make sure I can feel all those buckles, zippers, everything. Now, this is where you kind of got to pay attention if your foot drags, okay? We don't want your foot to drag too much. And again, that is very much a brand thing. I'm not even going to go into all the details, but so it does a little divot right here that goes out to the side. That's going to be your turning spot. This always makes me nervous, sewing blind like this. We're on page 27, color stitch 17. Yeah, once the video posts, I'm gonna see if we can go in and add a notation. All right, that's always a good sound, right? So now we're going to take it out of the hoop and we're going to start to trim. And this is kind of where, well, let's see where number F has left me hanging. Okay, so we're going to take it out, okay, and I'm just going to take it out of the hoop. And if your hoop is super tight, the best thing to do is kind of just pop it out and then loosen your screw. It'll be much easier, especially if your hands aren't real strong. I've been doing hand exercises because I refuse to have hands that can't turn or do things. I'm just getting out. Let's get rid of this. I'm taped to death. There we go. There's tape everywhere. All right, so here's what we have. So this is these little notches right here. This is where your opening is. Now your opening, this is where kind of got a lot of people tripped up. Your opening is only between two pieces, all the way here at the back, okay? All this is meant to be sewn shut. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim away. And again, do not get too close and be consistent. You can always trim more, but you cannot trim. Oh, I just did what I want. Ah, doggone it. All right, I'm explaining to you what I just did. I just made my life hell. So when you're trimming, don't trim where that opening is. And I'm going to show you why here in a minute. You still be able to save it because it's on the inside. So if you do happen to do that. Okay, so on these corners, I make sure I kind of round off that bulk a little bit. You can go in and snip if you want, but I'm cut pretty close. So when we trim here, you're going to trim and you're going to cut. You're going to leave open. I don't want you to trim away this piece, right? Your piece should look like this. And again, we can get rid of this bulk in a minute, but I'm a nervous Nelly. So you're going to go to the back and you're going to find, but see what happens when I cut this off. And this is another reason why I'd rather show you live, because this is where everybody messes up, right? When we turn this, there's two turns, okay? This has to be finished inside my bag. At this point, so I'm probably just going to add a binding. I'm just going to zigzag it closed with my sewing machine, something along those lines. If this is not a gift, so I'm just going to leave this tail on here so you guys understand where I'm at. So I'm going to open up, right? And you should be able to peek in there. Where's the camera? Peek in there and see your zipper. So we're going to reach in and we're going to start to turn. And this may take a minute, so don't force it because you don't want to tear your stitching. And it's a lot, right? And this is when I talked about, oh, be careful if you're choosing leather or vinyl, make sure you're going to be able to get through this process without having any issues. Lesson number 412 today. When you don't trim close enough to your zipper teeth. When you don't trim the stabilizer close enough. So there's two turns. Let me switch cameras and see if I can do this better. That's better. So as we turn, we're going to make sure each corner is in good shape before we turn again. And you can even press at this point. There's a lot of bulk in here and there's a lot of weight in here, okay? So you can see this is where I would have had fabric to close this up. But because apparently I can't talk and sew and chew gum at the same time, we're all suffering today. I have my little point turner here. Now at this point, you can still press these corners out. This is where the devil is in the details, right? And this is where the rubber meets the road. Now, good thing that's going to be on the inside, but if you're a perfectionist, you're going to be upset, right? So now we have one more turn. We're going to go inside the zipper and we're going to turn it again. Now this is press, press, press. And those of you that have a heat press, I will tell you once I'm done kind of pressing as I go, I will wrap it in, like a press cloth, and I will smash it in the heat press. Let me get my junk out of the way. I have a whole alphabet soup going on here. I've got alphabet letters everywhere. All right, what do I do with my press pad? There it is. So you would cover this with your press cloth, right? So you don't get a lot of heat on those zippers. And pressure helps you, like really press into it. Yeah, someone said they had trouble with their snaps because of the bulk. I can agree with that. But I actually will take this and put this in my heat press, okay? So I could tell you where the disaster is with number 7. No, maybe I didn't. Let me see if I goofed up. Hold on. No, she looks intact. Everything is the extra lining piece. That's what it was. The extra piece right here. This would have been pretty fabric if I would have paid attention and used my 2 layers of F. So that was my fault. So I'll try to make a comment in the beginning. But I kind of like my flap tucked in. Look at them apples. That is absolutely a genius in the hoop bag, right? Holy smokes. We survived. Hour and 48 minutes into it, and 28 layers of directions. I only had to make the flap twice, and I goofed on letter F. So if I look inside my pocket, the first one, it's pretty on both sides. If this is the only problem you're having, you'll be all right, right? If anybody gets their nose in there. So this is the little Halloween from QT Fabrics called Creeping It Real, right? So this is the one we just did. And I'm going to have Zach do the cam snaps for me because I really stink at cam snaps. This is the one that remade and gave it to me on the cruise. Yeah, so we have a little motto here at Amy Sews. It's called I screw up so you don't have to. When we do our scan and cut classes and our serger classes, I don't do a lot of editing because I want you to see when things mess up, how you're going to correct them, how you're going to fix them on the fly, right? That's just as important as everything else. And then this is the one that was made out of the leather with the crossbody straps. Oh man, I wish you felt this. This is like so scrumptious, unless you don't like leather, right? And then some of you got this as the kit, but we have something else. We have this camera's killing me because it's off center. This is a template jig to make tassels. And I'll show you how it works. We have them in Amy Sews too. You're going to get the template. I'm going to throw a piece of cork in so you can make one. You're going to get a cap, a zipper cap tassel. I'm going to say these are only $8, but let me show you how they work. If you want to add an extra detail, right? Now you can also use your scan and cut to cut. You can also use so I have just a little cutting mat. I have my piece of cork, and I don't have to cut the shape. So just gonna lay your template down. And I just have a straight edge because it's too, the slots, because of the guards in your rotary cutter. Don't go between the slices, right? So I just use a straight edge. So you're just going to cut your cork to size, and you're going to take your razor. Now, I don't recommend using a straight razor like this, but this is, again, I thought Zach was coming in to do it. Anyhow, you just cut through, and you cut through, and you cut through, and you cut through. And you end up with fringe like we did in the 60s and the 70s. Now this particular one has screws. So you put a little bit of glue, and then you can also put tiny screws in. Again, this is like high-end purse hardware. So you're just going to roll it up. You can use a little bit of glue if you want while you're rolling. You're going to want to roll it tight enough so it fits inside. I'm just kind of like, if you would see the angle I'm at. This goes up inside of here. You drop your screws in there. This one is just glued in, and you have a tassel. And if you want a really thick tassel, you just do a double length of this. Just go twice, and you can have a double thick tassel, a single thick tassel, and that's how the tassel jig works. But I truly appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Thank you, Reen, for letting me share this project, because it has been absolute the most beautiful project I have done in a long time in the hoop. And my customers come in, and I can see what's trending and what's really going on, because people are like, have you seen? And it was like 3 years of green snowballs. People were coming in these buckets of snowballs. And I just kind of laughed to myself. And they go, look what we made. I'm like, oh, you made snowballs. And now it is going to be the tailor bag, right? So if you're interested in what we do at Amy Sews, just go to amysews.com. Pop over, get your purse handles. They're 50 inches from end to end. Gold hardware. I think there's 9 or 10 colors that you can choose from. So okay, everybody, have a terrific day. Thank you for hanging out with me, because the more you know, the more you sew.